welcome to this week's episode of Tea Time with Tea. What we'll be having this week is ginger peach, and for those that know me, I love myself some ginger in my fizzy drinks, but I've never had a tea that's made with ginger before. I've had ginger tea for when we had COVID, but then it's not the same. This one, this is actual tea, so let's taste it. I'm getting the peach, but I'm not getting the ginger. The ginger flavor is not as strong. Anyway, on this week's episode, we will be speaking on parenting. Now, you're probably wondering, what does she know about parenting? She doesn't even have a child. Well, I'm not speaking about parenting a child, but I'm speaking how I was parented and to see whether the way I was raised is good or bad. I don't think there's any bad because parents are just trying. So, in this week's episode, we're spilling tea on our primary examples in life. Parents, right? So first, let's go into our Bible verse for this week is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 to 3. It reads as follows: Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. You know how you're always wondering what's right and wrong? The right thing is to obey your parents in the Lord. Honor your father and mother. Pause. Which is the first commandment with a promise. Pause. So that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. Now, this is literally a life hack. If you want to have a long life and enjoy it, you just need to honor your mother and your father. Right. Let's dive deeper into it. All right. So I went and asked my parents 5 questions that I am very much blessed to be able to ask them while they're still on this earth. And these 5 questions, they're actually supposed to be 6, but I didn't ask the first one. I don't feel like it's important. And these 5 questions are supposed to help us to understand our parents better, and it's just sort of give us a perspective on how they really feel about us, if I can say it in that way. So I'm just going to move this to this side. Yeah. Okay. All right. 5 questions to ask your parents. And for those that are not raised by their parents, that have been adopted or lost their parents at a younger age and had their grandparents or uncles and aunts or some family members step in, you can ask your guardian. It's really important questions, and I feel like everybody should at least get to ask someone these questions and get an answer. So, first one is, what is your happiest memory of raising me? Now, before I go into the answers, I want you to know that my mom and my dad are different. My dad will give you things as they are and tell you things as you need to know them. My mom, on the other hand, is a person that she doesn't really like being asked questions without knowing where it is going. Now, I cannot give her the details and be like, this is going to be on my podcast. I just need to ask them, and she can give me as raw as it comes. But then she's also really a person that's always direct to the point and doesn't really want to be questioned a lot. That's my mom, right? So the answer to the first question, I'm going to give my mom's answer and then my dad's answer. I was a little bit sentimental with some of these answers. I was like, oh, you're so cute, parent. But anyway, let's go. My mom said, when I was breastfeeding you, you would drink both milk and the bottle. So she means like I would drink both breast milk and the bottle. I don't know what that means, but it's probably why I am the way I am. I got all the nutritions that I needed. My dad said the day your mom came home late from work, we were still living in Busha Park and you slept in my arms. Oh, Dad. So cute. Second question. What's something you never told me but always wanted to say to me? My mom. Nothing. And I questioned her. I said, nothing? Question mark. And she said, yes. My dad. I used to tell you everything, but to answer, don't ever forget your brothers. And I was like, okay, Dad, I won't forget them. Next question. What's the hardest lesson life has ever taught you? Mom, losing a child and a job. Ooh, I don't know what it's like to lose a child. I don't have one, first and foremost. But losing a job, I can understand. It really teaches you about your community, your circle, the people around you, who's there for you, who was there for what you had and what you gave, and who was there for really to be there for you. Like, it just opens a whole lot of different things. It shows you how people treat you. So I can understand how that can be a hard lesson, how people can take you when you have, and how people take you when you don't, and how people treat you when you have something to give to them or something they can take from you, and when people benefit nothing from you, when it's just you to love you for you. Whew. My dad said, be honest in life, be satisfied with what you're given. Ew, dad. Next question. What's one piece of advice you wish you had taken when you were younger? Mom, not to date a colleague. Now, me being me, um, I'm a very open and honest person. I hate liars and I hate lying. So, to lay it all on the table, my mom has this colleague of hers that she used to work with, or still working with actually. Um, name is Belinia, right? And she has this handsome son. Like, he is handsome. To this day, I feel like that man is. His name is Judini. And in 2018, so 2017, I was in Mozambique with my mom, and she was working on New Year's Day going into 2018. And I remember this on the before then, like in December during Christmas, I saw Judino, right? And he walked by. He was coming back from school because they were still open to school. I was done. I was like, just this was after my matric year, 2017. I finished matric in 2016, which is 12th grade for American people. And 2017, when I done finished working my whole year and ready to start 2018 to start my tertiary studies, university, I went on holiday with my mom while she was working. I was just there helping out and whatever. So I saw Judini, who was coming from school, and he was with one of his school friends, and he walked into his house, and I was just sitting there, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and it was just instant. Like, I was head over heels, right? So fast forward to 2 January, the 2nd of January 2018, he said, listen, I saw you and you saw me. And he asked me, how many guys have you dated? And I said, two. No, one. I said one, yeah. And he said, well, I'd like to be the second one. And I said, what? I was flashing. I was like, this is my crush. What do you mean? And he said, yeah, I'd like to date you. And I said, okay. I agreed to it. I was like, okay. But knowing my mom, right? My mom would not have agreed to that. And I was a very obedient child. I was a very, like, focused child. I never wanted to disappoint my parents. I was just that child. So we decided we're gonna date in secret. And we dated in secret for probably 3 years. And my mom, I don't know if she found out or whatever, but she said to me, she sent me a text. I was in South Africa, she was in Mozambique, 3 years down the line, right? And she said, "What's happening between you and Judinho?" And I said, "This is the first time I remember telling a big lie to my mom. I've always told little white lies, but..." And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "Okay, yeah, don't date him. He's like family." And in my head, I'm just like, I'm in love with this guy. I cannot. And in my head, I'm just like, I'm in love with this guy. I cannot leave him. And I told him, we used to share everything. I told him, like, I think my mom knows, and this is what it is. So, yeah, if my mom's finding out the first time on this video, Mom, it's love. It is love. He was the best person that I think I could have dated. Till this day, I still feel like he's got my heart for sure. Yeah, that's it. Podcast, I have to be honest. I got fans, I got people, I got supporters, I got subscribers, people that I know that I'm giving them the real truth. I cannot speak on God and be lying about that aspect of my life. But anyway, yeah, not to date a colleague. He wasn't like a colleague, but we can put him in a colleague instance in terms of our mothers. But me and him, anyway, my dad said, yeah, my dad is also gonna see this. Anyway, we'll cross the bridge when we get to it. Sorry, parents. Sorry, parents. But we might be family in the future. You never know. I'm gonna stop playing around. Anyway, my dad said to plan life accordingly because life's too short. So planning is important. Don't go into life without planning. You need planning because if you deflect or you go off the road a bit, you still know what the plan is, and you can always lead yourself back to what the initial plan was. With God, of course. Right. Next question. That was a deep question because I had to reveal some stuff. What's one thing you hope I never forget about you? My mom said giving birth to you. Because she gave birth to a queen. She hopes I never forget that she gave birth to this awesomeness. That means my mom is proud of who I am. Hopefully, still after this video. Then my dad said that I never pretended to love you as my daughter. Dad, I am definitely for sure a daddy's girl, like 100%. Right? So these questions, make sure you ask your guardian, your parents, whoever raised you, whoever is important to you. Ask them these 5 questions. It will definitely give you a different perspective on life for sure. So now getting to what we all don't like, but we have to live by. Sometimes we follow it, sometimes we don't. Rules. Rules. Why do we have to have rules? We have to have rules so that we have certain standards and limitations to what we are living around, right? So that we're not running around like headless chickens and we're just doing our own thing. But so the rules that we had in my household that I can remember that are most important that I still try to live by till this day as a young woman is we went to church every Sunday. Like we didn't miss not even one Sunday. Every Sunday we went to church for as long as I could remember. Now this was important, I think, because my parents wanted to build or place a foundation that was godly for us, like to know that we submit to someone, we submit to a certain authority, and we have a prayer life. And it is important to pray because God is our God and we need to live a godly life, right? Number two, it was a rule or it was a thing in our house to always eat together. So when we go to church on Sunday, when we come back, my mom would wake up like at 5, 6 in the morning to cook Sunday course, but we couldn't have the Sunday course before going to church. We'd have like a nice breakfast, like egg nyana, sausage nyana, polony, whatever was on the menu, salad, you know. But we always eat a meal together, and it was a rule that when we come from church, we sit down together and we have our Sunday lunch, which was amazing. My mom is a great cook. Thank you, Mom, for years of good meals. And third one was no sleepovers. Till this day, I don't understand that one. I understand it in terms of boys, no sleepovers. But friends, family, my mom wouldn't have it. Now, I always question myself why, and I still question myself why till this day. Why don't parents want us to sleep over? Funny thing is, my parents would let us sleep over at our white friends' houses, but not our black friends' houses. I think they know something that we don't know. But I'm grateful for that, I guess. Teaches me to kind of love my own home and stay in my home and just be where I can be free, you know? Number four, always focus at school, get good grades, and go about your life. So my parents always said, go to school, get good grades, finish school, and you can do whatever you want to do, right? I did all of that. I did all of that. Got good grades, did what my parents asked of me, and here I am. I turned out great. Fifth is love your family and limit friends. Like, limit friends? Not when you got all these awesomeness, like all of this awesomeness. Like, how can I limit friends? People just want to be friendly. I'm just kidding, but yeah, that was those are the rules that I kind of remember in those terms. Why? I think it was to ensure that we are good people and we respect other people and we have boundaries in what we do, you know? So, my thoughts and my takeaways in terms of parenting. First and foremost, I'd like to say that parents have no blueprint, parents have no script, parents have no previous experience on how to parent. So you need to give parents grace because this is literally their first time parenting. It's their first time. It's like a entry job. Like, it's the first time you're doing this. You learn as you go. Parents go in with no experience. They might have seen or not seen, had an example or not had an example on how to raise their kids, but then give parents grace. It's the first time they are parenting. Okay? Then, another thing um, that I wanted to take away from this is that my parents never helped me with my homework whatsoever, never helped me with my school tasks, never helped me with studying. I did all of that on my own. Firstly, because I went to an Afrikaans school. Secondly, because my parents did what they thought was right as parents. Take your children to school, make sure they stay in school, and check their grades to make sure that they get good grades. And the rest was just in my hands or my brother's hands or whatever, right? But everything that we did need, though, like for school projects, for whatever, they did provide it. Now, the rest was up to us to do it for ourselves, right? Um, Even with extracurricular activities, they used to support everything that I did. Never asked me a question if I said, Mom, I'm going to a camp this weekend and the camp is 1,500 or 1,500, they would pay it, right? I remember the first time that I got to go on a school trip and fly there, my mom made that happen. She had two kids in high school that needed to go to the school trip, and it was like 8,000 rands a head. So that's like 16,000 that she had to pay for me and my brother, plus money to spend, plus money to buy souvenirs and whatever, just to make sure that we fit in with the other children. Now, I'm not saying that my parents had it good, but then sometimes it was hard, you know. Seasons were just always different and changing. That's why I appreciate my parents so much. They really did a lot. They really did a lot. People see them now whilst they are in a better place, I would say, financially, but there were struggles before. There were struggles before. There might still be struggles in this day and age, but they always done their best to ensure that the children have the best, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I think my thoughts are that my parents really did the best to make sure that we come out as good children. Because looking at it, people that I grew up with, like grew up with, like in the area that I grew up in, not what I've come to know now as we are older. I grew up in a township, and my peers, they have children. Um, some didn't finish school. Some have substance abuse, and it just really makes me question that if I wasn't raised in the way that I was raised, and I was the person that I am, that listen, that is obedient, that really takes seriously what the Bible teaches me, how would I have turned out? Because my childhood friends that I grew up with, I would always try and get them to church. Like, let's go to church, yo. Like, what's happening? I know some of my friends, I used to have to go and knock at their homes and ask the parents that, yo, can so and so go to church with me? And the parents would say yes, because they understood the importance of being in the church and the foundations of growing up in the church. But they would stop and fall out. But I've always remained in church because it was mandatory, for real, to really be in the church. And our lives are totally different. We are not the same. I can see the difference in how it is. I'm not saying I was a perfect child. I'm not saying my parents are perfect parents, but then the decisions that they made, I can see them now, and I'm really appreciative of those decisions now. Everything that they did, all the sacrifices that they made, I'm very much grateful to that, because they listened to instruction from God, and I listened to instruction from them as God instructed me, and I get and got to be the person that I am. Like, I can be in a whole different place and not feel like um I need to be back home. I know how to survive. I know how to um go on. I know how to move. I know when to call my parents when I need them. I know what to ask. I know what to say. And this has taught me to be, my parents have taught me to be like a very independent young person, like know how to take care of myself. But one thing for sure that I do know is I'm emotionally dependent. Like, I'm emotionally dependent. That's the one part of where I am right now in my life that's really challenging. And I've also said to God that I do not just want to find a person because I feel like I'm alone. I'm not alone. The people that I'm with are good people, very inclusive, very thoughtful, very mindful, very demure. But I'm still emotionally dependent. Like, there's a part of me that needs like attachment, that needs um to be like this with people. I understand. But yeah, that's the one element that God is still training me in, and I'm taking it one day at a time and as it is, right? We're not here to talk about that though. So, in terms of parenting, parents do what's best for their children. In most cases, in most instances, we might never understand or see it in that situation, in that moment. But when you really take time to reflect and you take time to look around you, not really compare, but you might have to compare certain things, where you are, what you're doing, how you process things, how you take things. It really goes back to the role that your parents played in your life. So it is important that we really do what the Bible says, honor our parents, so that we enjoy long life on this earth. Listen, I feel like I've lived long. I've done a lot of things. When I think back to it, I'm like, 2016, I was finishing school. 2017, I was doing this and this. 2018, I met the love of my life, and I lost the love of my life after 3 years. You know, life is short, but it's long. But when you think of it, you really get to be grateful for where you are and what you have. I can see my parents after this episode. I've never done something like this. So you guys need to be grateful for this podcast that's giving you another side of me, but then that side of me that is like, don't do this to your parents. I just did something to my parents that I don't know what the reaction is gonna be like, but we can only wait and see. I might let you guys in on it. I might let you in on it. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Tea Time with Tea. Please remember to like, share, and comment. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do subscribe. It's fun here. It's gonna be a good time all the time. So, and that's it for me. Thank you for coming. See you on the next one.